Good morning, everyone. My name is Jonathan Oleisky, and I'm one of the managing partners here at Jmore, and I'm incredibly excited today to welcome you to our first inaugural show of Jmore Live. We have an outstanding first guest who happens to be the inaugural rabbi at Haar Sinai Oheb Shalom congregation. Let's give a wonderful, warm welcome to Rabbi Rachel Sabath Beit-Halachmi. Rabbi Sabath, thank you so much for joining us.
It's such a pleasure to be here. It's such an exciting and interesting time, isn't it?
It sure is. And you know, I just want to say that you are going to be the first of many Jewish leaders and personalities on a local and national level that we talk to throughout the coming year. So let's just start with kind of set the table a little bit. You were ordained at Hebrew Union College. You earned a PhD at the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, I believe in Jewish philosophy and theology.
Correct.
Super, super. And for those viewers who want to learn more about Rabbi Sabath's background, you can go to Jmore Live, look for jmoreliving.com, go to our Jmore Live page. You can see her charming photo there. You can read all about her background, and you can click through to some other interviews we've had with her. So you've been here at this historic new synagogue now for what, a little over 2 months?
1 month.
1 month. How about that?
Just had our 1 month anniversary. What can I say? We're still on our honeymoon.
Well, mazel tov, mazel tov. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, what's it like being a rabbi today? These are certainly unprecedented times. You have this, you know, joining of two historic Reform synagogues that have come together to create this new entity. So what's your landscape like?
Well, my landscape is very broad and lots of blue skies ahead, no matter what happens, because the opportunities here are endless, both because of the power of two congregations coming together. There's historical power. There's the power of the energy of all of the members and the active leadership and the senior leadership. We have an incredible new cantor. It's just been a delight to work with her. She's already been lifting the spirits of so many. And it's also an interesting time, obviously, because of the changing landscape in America for American Jews, and of course, also because of the pandemic and the various ways that we've been living and praying and continuing to be a congregation through the pandemic. So the landscape is, you know, it's like that famous blessing. May you live in interesting times.
We sure do. We sure do. So. All right, talk a little bit about, as you look forward for the next, say, 1 to 3 years, what is your rabbinate going to be about? You know, every rabbi kind of sets their own pulpit, as they say. You know, right. You're on the bima, you're looking out at the congregation. What's your rabbinate going to be about? Tell us.
My rabbinate is first and foremost about relationships. I absolutely believe it is all about the person, about the people. For people to feel collected together, for people to feel like a community that can be a force for good, they have to feel understood and have a relationship with other folks. And what we have here at Haar Sinai Oheb Shalom is just a huge and hungry appetite where we have the capacity to really
Sabath, I'm going to ask you to pause for 1 second. We have someone who's clicked on our link, Marlene Pacino. We need you to click off that link, Marlene, so we can, because we're getting your feedback. So give me 1 second here, and I'm going to mute them. Okay. You know, Rabbi Sabath, when we do Facebook Lives, the strangest things always happen. So,
I know. Our people are so excited about this that they wanted to log on live. What can I say?
That's great. So go ahead. I had to interrupt you there, but no, you're talking about your rabbinate.
So my rabbinate is now and has always been about really gleaning from tradition the most important and the most powerful aspects, because I believe that what Judaism offers is an incredible operating system for the person, for the community, for our people, for the world, to be able to be ultimately a force for good. It is an operating system so that the individual, the congregation, the community can be a force for good in the world. There are, I believe, other beautiful operating systems and other traditions. My job as a rabbi is to be sure that I'm presenting for our time multiple points of access for people to discover everything that they want to discover and experience about Judaism, and of course, understand themselves to be part of a larger people, part of a covenant community, and know that being part of it will add meaning to their lives on a very, very personal level.
Love it, love it. So let's shift a little bit and talk about God. How about that? Can you imagine a rabbi? We're gonna have a conversation about God.
I love it.
So, as we talked when I met you, I think about a month ago, I had the pleasure of growing up in a rabbinic household. My dad is a retired conservative rabbi. I grew up in Tucson, Arizona. So I got to experience what it was like to be an RK, a rabbi's kid. And I think I told you that we had this horrible tragedy almost 6 years ago. My younger brother, Michael, of blessed memory, was murdered Erev Rosh Hashanah. A shocking, horrible thing. And it really changed my outlook on how I tried to talk to God. And to be very candid, my first outing, I flew to Tucson, Arizona on the first day of Yontif because I had to be with my parents. And I ended up going to shul on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. And I tried to talk to God. It didn't work. Maybe my mindset wasn't there. But we know that bad things happen to good people. I think that was Rabbi Schulweiss's famous book. But, you think about all the suffering that our community, the national community, the world has experienced because of COVID. You look at what happens in hot spots around the country. You look at the anti-Semitism. I mean, we could go on. And we're, about 5.5 weeks away from the Yomim Noraim, the high holidays. How do we talk to God when we're in shul in 5.5 weeks, when we're on Zoom? What wisdom do you have there for us?
Well, first of all, Jonathan, your story, it's
a hard story.
It's a hard story. So I just want to pause and say that I don't think that a family who's experienced that, or any of us who have experienced that with a loved one, are ever really in the same place ever again. We are forever changed.
Yep.
And we, depending on who we are and what else happens in our lives, we may deny God, we may be angry at God, we may need God more for comfort. Those are just three of the infinite ways in which the human being responds to crisis and suffering, especially when it is, as Rabbi Harold Kushner put it, right, when bad things happen to good people. Yeah. What does Judaism have to offer? I actually recently wrote a whole chapter about this for a brand new book called Torah in a Time of Pandemic. What really does Judaism have to say? And my chapter is really actually about this. Where is God in times of crisis? And what have been the multiple viewpoints? Yeah. One of the most profound ways that I've come to understand this vis-a-vis other people is actually from a different rabbi, Rabbi Eliezer Berkovitz of blessed memory, who talks about how we understand God after the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he says in the introduction, this is a very small, powerful book. Just read the introduction, Faith After the Holocaust. And he says, we are not Job. Those of us who weren't there, we are not Job, and we cannot judge another person who has suffered. There were those of our ancestors, including my own, who were murdered at Babi Yar in our family's case, who on their way, even standing there at Auschwitz or Babi Yar or wherever, were continuing to say, Ani ma'amin, I believe with perfect faith that there will be a redemption. There will be, right, the Messiah, even though they tarry, they will one day come, and we will await that time. So there are those who maintain their faith, and even their faith was even strengthened. There are those for whom actually it didn't have an impact on their faith, because that tragedy, and I will say, and you'll forgive me for this chutzpah, the tragedy of your brother, is about human beings. Yep. And so it's our theology about whether or not God is supposed to and is able to and ever has intervened, in the life of an individual, right? We call that, individual providence, right. Or whether God has actually given all human beings free choice. And so the human reality is about whether or not we're able to choose the good and to choose life and to choose mercy and forgiveness. So, and then there are those, right? So there are those for whom faith was strengthened. There are those for whom faith doesn't change. because this was the work of human beings. And as one of my teachers and the theologian about whom I wrote my dissertation, Rabbi Eugene Borowitz of blessed memory, that it's not God who's, hanging at in the gallows at Auschwitz, like in Elie Wiesel's famous book, Night. Mm-hmm. It's not that that God is dead. It's that our faith in humanity, right? Our faith in modernity as being a human progress is what had to change. Mm-hmm. And then there are those, of course, who are understandably angry at God and will never forgive God and will never come into a synagogue again. Understandably also. My father used to get up every Rosh Hashanah and leave at the reading of the binding of Isaac, right? Or the non-sacrifice of Isaac. I felt like saying, that's probably a good part of why I became a rabbi. Like, why would you leave? I mean, so that became a big question, stay till the end. That's not what God actually asked. It's not about sacrifice. It's about not sacrificing human beings. Anyway, and then there, of course, there's the fourth category or the fifth category of people who are just like, it is not about this. Maybe they have some spirituality and hopefully some other operating system that gives them meaning. And what Berkovitz says is we cannot judge what another person's faith is. What we can do is offer comfort. Right. What I would say to all of us today, especially after the year and a half that we've all been through, and especially today, right, we're all talking about how we need to change the high holidays and how many people and masks and vaccines. And my relatives in Israel, I'm also Israeli, they're getting ready for their third vaccine. Wow. So this is a really interesting time. And what Judaism can offer is a sense of meaning and comfort and strength and community. And if God can be brought into that, wonderful. And if not, no judgment, judgment at all. It's each person's spiritual journey.
So let's probe a little bit on your spiritual journey, if I can. I'm always fascinated. What do rabbis pray for or ask of God? You're up on the bima. It's Shema Kolenu. It's Yom Kippur. What are you going to say to God this year? Can I ask you for a preview of that?
Well, you can, but Jonathan, I'm a live person, so it may change 100 times between now and then, right?
But what are you thinking?
No, I'll tell you what I always pray for. I always pray for, and in a way, this is exhibited in part of the liturgy, right? Of what is the Kohen Gadol, the main leader of these rituals in ancient times, right? First, forgiveness for themselves. Yeah. I'm doing it backwards intentionally because that's how I see it. First, forgiveness for myself. Like if I'm not doing a deep, self-evaluation and cheshbon nefesh and, putting my own life under a microscope, I can't ask anybody else to do that. So I take Elul very seriously. In fact, I co-authored a book called Preparing Your Heart for the High Holy Days.
Oh, wow.
Preparing Your Heart for the High Holy Days is all about spending this month of Elul, right, which is starting this coming weekend, spending the month before the high holidays. It's a guided journal, really, asking us to ask ourselves the hard questions. And it really talks about a three-way pivot, right? We have to dive deep into ourselves. We have to repair our relationships with others. And it's an opportunity to return to God, to return to tradition, to return to this, how this operating system might work in our lives at this moment. So what I ask for is the koach, right? The strength to be able to do that really seriously for myself, to be able to do it within my family, right? If I can't be honest about the ways in which I've failed, vis-a-vis my kids or my husband, how can I ask anybody else to do that? Then it's vis-a-vis my friends and colleagues. It's vis-a-vis the community. What can I say? Fortunately, I've only been here for a month, so that ought to be easier, because we're still on a honeymoon. It's all still perfect.
Of course.
But really, forgiveness for the ways in which any of us could have done better. Yeah. And because we're human beings, that's the human predicament. So God give me the strength and the focus and the presence in my own life to be able to be honest about all of those things. And then I do pray, of course, for the healing and the mercy for all who are ill and in need of healing, for the strength to go through whatever that journey is, for strength for the caretakers, of which there are millions and millions more now in this world than there were even a year ago and certainly 2 years ago. And I pray that what we offer as a rabbi, what we, the clergy, offer, and what our tradition offers resonates with people. And my job, right, is to interpret it and speak about it in a way that you, Jonathan, will find meaning and will find comfort and will find strength and will feel inspired to be what I think Judaism is really asking, to be the most ideal human being you can be in the world. Judaism's asking, and it's really an experiment with a people offering a particular mode and set of traditions to say, strive to be the best person you can be, strive to be the best people you can be. And that way it's so much more than just being about us and our own spiritual tradition, right? It's about being part of a community. So even when you have no faith and you're angry and you don't like what's happening, bring the clothes, the used clothes to shul. We have a place to put them right outside. Bring your food, bring your energy, be an usher, welcome people, be part of the communal experience. Because Judaism it's really just part of it is about religion.
Yes, absolutely.
It's about peoplehood. It's about civilization. You know, I say, if you're angry at God, you know, come in and express that anger, right? Bring it on, you know, be who you are.
There you go. Well, that's a great segue. So let's talk more about kind of the community that you're going to build in partnership with the new cantor, the lay leaders. So, you know, if you look at synagogue affiliation and synagogue membership of what we call the brick and mortar shuls, I wrote about this for Jmore earlier this spring, you know, sadly, synagogue membership is down in Baltimore, across the country. And I know there's going to be people watching this who are going to say, okay, she's a neat rabbi. I like what she's saying, but why should I join a shul? Why should I, you know, put down my dollars? What do I get out of it? So talk a little bit about the why the community should come inside the building and actually become a formal part of this new congregation you're building.
Well, first of all, we are the newest and the oldest Reformed congregation. So I believe that first and foremost, you know, come and check us out. Come and meet me, hear me, listen to the cantor, be part of it, feel what it's a new congregation. It really is the new Har Sinai, Oheb, Shalom, like you've never seen it before. I know those are taglines, but it is so true right now. And we are incredibly inclusive and welcoming and real. It is very down to earth. What someone said a couple of weeks ago after services is they said, wow, I could just come as I am. Yep. It wasn't about a show. It wasn't about what I'm wearing. It wasn't about who's there. And it was just come as you are and let the experience speak to you, be part of it. You know, you can zone out and just use it as a meditative thing. So why should you come to Har Sinai, Oheb Shalom? You should come because it has the capacity to reawaken your soul, to challenge your mind, to enable you to be a force for good by being part of our incredibly wide array of social action and social justice. And we also are now a community that's diving in deeply to study and to engagement with the text. And so we're having a whole Monday night, Tuesday night study series and music series all through Elul, and continuing on with Midrash Mondays in the evening and Torah Tuesdays in the morning. And every single person is finding that when they dive in, whether it's just a single word, it's speaking to them. The text and the ideas and our tradition and the stories are speaking to them in new ways because they're seeing it through new lenses. So for intellectual, spiritual, and ethical inspiration, that's why you should come.
Love it. Excellent. So kind of as we think about our final question today, so you're a rabbi, you're an educator, you're a teacher, you're a modern day CEO, you're a Jewish parent, you're a Jewish mother, you've just moved a family to Baltimore. You know, what's it like wearing all those hats? Can't be easy every day, right?
What can I say? It's an adventure. And I love it because I am so up for the adventure. I will say, having come from serving a congregation for over a decade on Nantucket Island, what can I say? It was a difficult post, Jonathan, but somebody had to do it.
I'll take that.
And also living in Israel and running in and out of bomb shelters with my kids. And my husband is a fourth generation Israeli. My kids were all born there. So I'm very aware of challenging opportunities, meaning that whatever the moment is, the question is, can we find the opportunity and the ways in which it really will re-engage us as human beings. So for me, it's been incredibly exciting and energizing. You know, do I feel like I am, you know, the proverbial drinking from a fire hose? Yes, I never really understood that expression until now. So really, I'm just like taking it all in, meeting as many people as I can, being at funerals and shivas and learning people's stories. I love engaging with families, whether it's planning a wedding, as I have been with couples over the last few days, whether it's being at shivas, as I have been many times over the last few weeks already. There, in each story, there's just incredible depth and uniqueness and something that I learn. And so in each conversation, I'm also pulling from tradition, different ideas and different metaphors and different ways of hopefully bringing a spiritual presence into their lives, whether it's the most joyous moment or the most difficult moment. That Judaism's there. It's there to embrace you. One of the things that I learned as a mother is, you know, I've taught I was a rabbi for about a decade when I became a mother. And our daughter, our eldest child, our daughter, Tehillah, is now 17 and a half. So one of the things that I learned, which I loved as a rabbi, right? We just show up. We're in your face, whether you just lost your brother or you just gave birth or you just, whatever, you know, whatever it is, a bar bat mitzvah, your kid's at the most awkward stage, right? And we are in your face in, I hope, the best possible way. You don't have to go through this alone. We're not going to let you go through it alone. You're in mourning. You know, I lost my father not too long ago. You're in mourning and you may just want to like hide in bed and cover, you know, hide under the sheets and just cry and not get out of bed. Anybody who's experienced, you know, crisis of any kind knows that feeling. Yep. And what does Judaism do? It says, sorry, we're going to show up in your house. We're going to be on that phone. We're going to be checking in on you. We, the community, we're going to show up with chicken soup and that, you know, that platter for your shiva, whether you want us to or not, really. That's what we do. So I didn't really understand how intense that is until, you know, I had my first child and then two boys and, you know, and a circumcision and a bris. And you're just like, any mother who's given birth or a family with a new baby can understand this, or anybody who's been close to anybody. You know, it's like, oh my God, I have never been less ready to host in my life. You know, I'm just all about nursing this baby and healing and this and that. And guess what? People show up.
Right. Very good. So,
no, I just want to say something about that. Yeah, we don't let you be alone. That's part of what Judaism does. Mm-hmm. It's taking care of the individual in ways that we don't even know, we, the individual, that we need to be taken care of. And so we have a caring hands group, and we're very present in a pastoral way in people's lives, because that's what community is.
Super. So final two questions. What's the best way for our audience to engage with you and Har Sinai Oheb Shalom congregation? Should they go to the website? Should they call the shul? What's the best way to connect?
All of the above. Okay. Bring it on.
Excellent.
If you call the shul, you can set an appointment with me. If you go on the website, you can write to me directly on email. You can see the articles that Jmore and others have written about me and about the Cantor Fox. I would say come and experience it. We're going to be going through a year of sharing unique and new experiences. We're going to be experimenting. And so I would say we are the newest, the oldest, and the most innovative congregation in Baltimore today. How could you not come and check it out?
Lovely. Wonderful. Well, Rabbi Sabath, my wish for you is that your honeymoon is many years, because every new rabbi wants that. Loved the conversation. Looking forward to later in the year, we'll reconnect. You'll come back on our show, and we'll talk about what your first few months were like, what you've experienced your first high holidays from the Bima. And before we say goodbye to Rabbi Sabath and our audience, I just want to let our viewers know that our next Jmore Live will be a very different conversation on August 19th at 3 p.m. On medical cannabis with Wendy Bronfein, the co-founder of Curio Wellness. So to everyone, thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Rabbi Sabath, peace, and have a wonderful week ahead.
Thank you so much,
All right.
Jonathan.
Take care, everyone.
Many blessings. Take good care, everyone.